Wealthy CEO publicly divorced black pregnant wife just to shame her at the bus stop and regretted. Malrik Voss stood a few steps away from Zariah. He looked perfect in his navy blue suit and shiny watch. It was raining, but somehow he looked like the rain didn't want to touch him. People walking by slowed down. Some looked curious, others knew who he was. They looked at Zariah too. She was pregnant and looked very upset. He looked calm and strong. People started whispering, thinking of stories about them just by looking. "You're not doing this," Zariah said softly, but bravely. "I already did," Malrik said without showing any feelings. "I filled out the papers. You just need to sign them." His voice was cold, like he was talking about business, not ending a marriage. "I told you not to come here like this," he said, looking around. "It looks like a drama. I have a name to protect. Investors are watching me." Zariah's eyes filled with tears. "Not just because of the rain. Your name, your brand. I'm not going to let this become a big problem for my business," he said sharply. "You chose to have this baby." Zariah's belly felt tight, not because of pain, but because of sadness, anger, and shock. "I gave you everything," she said. "My money, my grandma's house, my job, my time, my heart. I trusted you when no one else did." Malrik let out a quick breath. "And now you're paying me back with a problem for my business. A surprise baby makes people talk. I can't have that right now." "I didn't ask you to choose between me and your job," she said softly. "No," he said. "You asked me to choose between living and feelings. I'm choosing to live." His words were cold like ice. A strong wind blew and made the divorce papers flap in the wind. Zariah didn't move. "You really think I tricked you?" she whispered. "I don't think. I know. You stopped taking birth control." "I was told it might be hard for me to get pregnant," she said. "Do you remember all those doctor visits? The time you didn't come? The night we cried because we thought we couldn't have kids?" He blinked, just once. "This baby wasn't a trick. It was a miracle. But you turned it into something bad." "You're just emotional," Malrik said. "But standing here shouting in the rain won't change anything." Zariah took a step forward and put her hand on her belly. "Then why are you here?" "To make sure you sign," he said, "so there's no confusion, no more calls, no more drama." Just then, a kind voice appeared from a different place. "Hey, fiction of the Peace family. Before we dive into today's powerful story, drop a comment. Where in the world are you tuning in from? If you haven't joined our peaceful storytelling family yet, hit subscribe now and be part of a community that believes in love, hope, and second chances. Now grab a cozy seat. Let's begin today's unforgettable journey. Zariah slowly opened the envelope. Her name was written in big letters. Malrik had already signed it. It was the final piece of their love story ending. "Sign it," Malrik said, looking at his watch. "I have a meeting in 1 hour." A tear ran down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Let him see it. Let him know she still had feelings, that she was not broken, just stronger. "I don't have a pen," she said. Malrik took one from his jacket. Like he already knew she would say that, she took the pen. Her fingers stopped for a second. The rain made the paper wet. The ink started to smudge. Then she signed. One line, then another, then the last. She gave it back without looking at him. Malrik took the papers, gave a little nod like she had just sold a house, and walked away. No goodbye, no sorry, just his shiny shoes splashing through the rain. Zariah stood still for a while. The city sounds came back. Cars, people talking, a subway train screeching underground. She was alone, but not really. A little kick, then another. 3 soft kicks under her ribs, 3 reminders that her story wasn't over, that even though he left them, she couldn't give up. She put her hand on her belly, took a deep breath, and stepped into her future. That evening, Zariah went back to her small apartment. She didn't tell anyone where she lived. Not many people were left to tell. The apartment smelled a little like old paint. The heater made loud noises like it didn't want to work. She took off her wet clothes, wrapped herself in a blanket, and sat on the bed. She was 8 months pregnant, divorced, had no job, and almost no money. But she wasn't broken. Not yet. The next morning, she walked to her doctor's appointment. She had sold her car a month ago to pay rent. The lady at the desk smiled like always, but didn't ask about her missing wedding ring or tired eyes. The doctor said her blood pressure was high, her iron was low. One baby wasn't growing well. She nodded, took the papers, and left without crying. Not on the sidewalk, not on the subway, not even when a young couple gave her their seat and she said no, too tired to explain that kindness sometimes hurt more than anything. She came home, boiled noodles, ate quietly, and stared out the window. She needed a plan. She wouldn't raise her 3 boys in that small, dark room. Wouldn't let them think they were unwanted. Wouldn't let them believe they ruined her life. She would show them this was just the beginning of something new. That night, she wrote down the names she chose: Zeke, Ezrin, and Tavi. Each name meant something strong and special. They gave her the strength to keep going. Far away, Malrik sat in a bar with his coworkers. He laughed, cheered for winning a business deal, talked to a news reporter, and said everything perfectly. But when he came home and took off his fancy coat, the apartment felt too quiet. Every little sound echoed. He opened a bottle of wine but didn't drink, turned on the TV, then off, opened a work file, then closed it again. Finally, he found the baby picture Zariah had once left on his desk. The ultrasound. 3 tiny shapes, 3 quiet shadows, 3 babies he had signed away. He didn't throw the photo away. He put it in a drawer and closed it. Zariah had always been strong. She had worked hard in college, stayed up all night working on building designs. She was the only black woman in many business meetings, but she kept going. She didn't let anyone stop her. But even all that didn't prepare her for the silence after the divorce. The silence felt heavy. She heard it when her phone didn't ring, when she waited for a job that never came, when her belly hurt and there was no one to help time the pains. After Malrik left her life fell apart in just 2 weeks. First, she got an eviction notice. Malrik had taken his name off the lease and emptied their bank account. Then the car disappeared. She had missed one payment, and it was taken in the middle of the night. She tried to contact his assistant, but only got a message, "Please talk to the lawyer." Then, nothing. Zariah used her last money to buy a small heater for her new basement room. The walls were cracked. The bathroom faucet made a hissing sound before water came out, but it was hers. Every night she hugged her belly and whispered to her babies, "We're okay, we'll be okay." But some nights, even she didn't believe it. Her water broke early one cold morning. There were no cabs. She walked 6 blocks in pain to the hospital. No pain medicine, no one to hold her hand. Just bright lights, a nurse shouting, and Zariah pushing with all her might. Zeke came first, loud and strong. Ezrin came next, quiet and calm. Tavi took the longest. His cord was twisted. The machines beeped fast. A nurse said, "We need help now." Zariah shouted, "You breathe, baby. Mama's here." Time stopped. Then a tiny sound, then a cry. Tavi Monroe had arrived. Weeks passed like a blur. She stayed at the hospital, never leaving Tavi's side. The kind nurses helped her. One, named Nora, said, "You shouldn't be doing this alone." "I don't have that choice," Zariah said. "I just have to." Nora never said it again. When all 3 babies were home, Zariah had to be smart. Zeke was the loud one. Ezrin watched everything. Tavi was the little fighter. She held one baby, fed another, and bounced the third with her foot. She slept very little, ate when she could, showered only sometimes, but she didn't stop. She got a night job at a diner. The owner, Miss Gloria, liked her. "You remind me of my sister," she said, strong and full of fire. During the baby's nap time, Zariah did design work for a small company. Some people paid her, some didn't, but she kept going. Her hands hurt. Her back ached. She carried the babies up and down the stairs every day, but still she moved forward. One very hard day, she sat on the floor surrounded by laundry and bills. Tavi had a fever. Zeke screamed for 4 hours without stopping. Ezrin spilled milk on the only clean baby shirt. And Zariah, she laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh, but a tired, wild laugh that came out all of a sudden. She laughed until tears came. Then she cried until the boys were all asleep. That night, Zariah realized something very big. No one was coming to save her, but maybe she could save herself. She stood up, found her old school folder from college, wiped the dust off, and fixed her resume. Then she applied for a grant. She didn't think she would win, but hope was the only thing she had left. One of her hardest days came when her landlord said she had to leave. "You're behind on rent," he said. "I can't keep waiting." "I have 3 babies," Zariah said, "and I always pay." "Just 1 more week." "You've already had 1 more weeks," he said. That night, Zariah sold her last piece of jewelry, her grandma's rose gold bracelet, the one she wore on her wedding day. The money only paid 1 month of rent, but 1 more month gave her 1 more chance. She never told anyone how lonely she felt. Sometimes she sat in the park with her babies just to hear other people laugh. She learned the bus schedules by heart so she could walk without paying. And sometimes she stared at happy families with 2 parents and wondered, not in anger, just gently, what it felt like to have help. She didn't wish for their big houses or fancy cars. She just wished for peace, for someone to be there. But even without that, Zariah kept going, because her sons deserved a kind of love that didn't need explaining. One night, while feeding baby Tavi, she whispered, "You're here because I won't give up." His tiny hand wrapped around her finger, and something inside her changed. Not like a light switch, more like the sun slowly rising. She remembered. She was Zariah Monroe. She was someone before she had babies, and she could be someone again. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for Zeke, Ezrin, and Tavi. Her boys were her future, and she would build that future one little step at a time. There was no book to teach her how to raise 3 little boys under 4 years old. Her money was low, and every baby bottle felt like a hard choice: feed them now or pay the rent later. Zariah became really smart at solving problems. She bought oatmeal in big bags and powdered milk when fresh milk cost too much. She fixed the boys' tiny shoes with dental floss and cloth from old pants. There was no time to cry over what she lost. Not when Zeke was teething. Not when Tavi had trouble breathing in the middle of the night. Or when Ezrin wouldn't sleep unless someone hummed a song off-key for 40 minutes. Every morning was the same. Tired eyes, cold coffee, and a little bit of hope. She made bottles while holding Zeke on her hip, carried Ezrin in a sling across her chest, and used her foot to rock Tavi's crib. She answered emails on her cracked laptop while doing all of this. Breakfast was a banana she shared with the boys and a few crumbs for herself. But even in the craziness, there were beautiful moments, like when all 3 babies fell asleep on her at once, or when Zeke shouted "Mama" for the first time, or when little Tavi crawled toward the sunlight. She kept those moments in her heart like treasure. Her job at the diner was very hard. She worked late into the night and came home with sore feet and greasy hair, but the job helped pay for lights and diapers, and sometimes it gave her little gifts too. One of those gifts was Miss Trudy, the woman who had run the diner for 30 years. Miss Trudy never asked many questions, but always watched Zariah kindly. "You've got a lot of fight in you," she'd say. "But even strong people need someone to lean on." Zariah would smile but didn't lean on anyone. Not yet. Trust was too hard. One snowy night after a tough shift, Zariah was cleaning the counter when a man walked in. He wore a dark wool coat and sat at the end of the bar. He was tall, with warm skin and calm eyes. He ordered black coffee but gave her his own tea bag. "Your coffee is scary," he said with a small smile. Zariah laughed, tired but amused. "It's 3 a.m. You're lucky it's not motor oil." That night, he became a regular. His name was Seelan Rhodes, and he didn't ask for much, just hot tea, a quiet seat, and sometimes little talks about building stuff or coffee beans. He noticed things, how she winced when lifting the coffee pot, how her hands looked too tired for someone her age, how she always looked at the clock at 5:30 a.m., time to rush home before her boys woke up. He never cried, but one night when she sat down and sighed really loud, he slid an envelope toward her. "What's this?" she asked. "Back rent," he said. "I heard your landlord yelling last week." She straightened up. "I don't take handouts." "Good," he said. "It's not a handout, it's an investment." "In what?" "You." She didn't cash the check for 3 days, not because of pride, but because she was scared. Scared that help came with a price, scared he'd want something in return. She'd met men like that before, but Talon wasn't like them. He came to the diner the next day, didn't say a word about the check. He just drank his tea and left her a napkin with a drawing of a little house and a note. "Still designing?" For the first time in years, Zariah felt seen, not just as a mom, not just as a tired worker, but as herself, a dreamer, a builder. That night, she sent him her design drawings. By morning, he wrote back. He had blueprints and wanted to work with her on a project to build homes for families who needed them. No promises, just possibilities. For the next 6 months, Zariah worked like a superhero. She designed while the boys napped, took video calls while Zeke chewed on her headphones, drew building plans while rocking Tavi with her foot. She barely slept, only in small breaks between feedings and work. Seelan came to her apartment once, bringing a new laptop. He saw her leaky faucet taped with duct tape but didn't try to fix it himself. He asked if she wanted to learn, then he taught her, and left. No pity, just quiet kindness. Little by little, Zariah let Talon in. He met the boys, first by accident, then on purpose. Ezrin clung to his pant leg. Zeke stayed unimpressed. Tavi bit his finger. Kalen laughed. "That one's got my attention," he said. Zariah watched him. This man who brought calm and safety. He never made promises, just showed up again and again. One night, after a big meeting they had worked hard on, they walked near the river. "You're not what I expected," Zariah said. "What were you expecting?" Seelan asked. "Someone who would want something I can't give." He looked at her and said, "I'm not here to take. I'm here to build. If you'll let me." She believed him. As the boys turned 2, Zariah and Kalen started the Rick Monroe Design Collective. They built small, green homes for families who had none. Then they fixed old buildings in the city. Soon, even famous people wanted to hire them. In 3 years, a magazine wrote about Zariah, the mom who built her way back. But Zariah didn't care about being in the spotlight. Her joy came from little things. Zeke yelling, "Mama, look," while balancing on one foot. Watching Kalen teach Ezrin about stars, holding Tavi close during storms. She was no longer just trying to survive, she was making something new. Seelan never rushed her. He was like a quiet door, always open, waiting for her to choose. He didn't need big words. He just did kind things, like bringing Zeke a star map when he said he wanted to find Mars, or playing French lullabies for Ezrin, or building her a strong wooden desk for her work. He never tried to be a hero, he just stayed. One night, after putting the boys to sleep, they sat on the fire escape looking at the stars. "Why are you doing all this?" Zariah asked. Her voice was sharp, not because she was angry, but because she was scared. He looked at her gently and said, "Because I see you. Not just the mom, not just someone who made it through hard times. I see a woman who rebuilt her life with broken pieces and didn't give up. And I want to be part of what you're building." Zariah looked at Kalen. She looked at his face to see if he was hiding anything or just trying to be nice, but he wasn't hiding anything. His eyes were kind and his heart was open. Their first kiss didn't happen fast. It came many months later after a long, hard day at work. A client meeting had gone badly and Zariah cried on the subway ride home. Kalen met her at the station and walked her home quietly. He held her keys while she tried to unlock the door. When she turned to look at him, the city lights made her face glow. He softly asked, "Do you want to fall apart or be held together?" She whispered, "Both?" Then he kissed her gently. It wasn't a big, flashy kiss. It felt warm and safe, like a promise. The boys noticed. Zeke asked, "Is Kalen going to be our forever dad?" Ezrin was a little worried. "Does that mean our real dad is gone forever?" Tavi just said, "I like him. He smells like pancakes." Zariah sat the boys down and told them the truth. Their real dad left, she said, but love didn't leave. And sometimes the people who stay with you are the ones who show they care with time, not just because they look like you. Zeke asked, "So can we choose who our daddy is?" "Yes," Zariah said with a smile. "You can." That night, Tavi ran to Kalen and gave him a big hug. Ezrin whispered, "Good night, Papa T." Zeke didn't say anything, but the next day, he gave Seelan his favorite toy car, and that meant everything. The family they made wasn't perfect, but it was full of love. On weekends, they went to museums. In the mornings, they made pancakes. At night, they read bedtime stories. Everyone got to take turns reading. Kalen's funny British voice when he read Goldilocks and the Three Bears was everyone's favorite. Zariah felt happier and lighter, not because someone was carrying her, but because someone was walking beside her. When she looked in the mirror now, she didn't see a sad lady holding divorce papers. She saw a strong woman who had gone through a lot, but still chose to love again. Zariah and Seelan made a promise. No big pictures on the internet, no big announcements, just real life lived with love. But people still found her. After Zariah and Seelan's design company won an award for building green homes, many people wanted to talk to her. One article was called Resilience Reimagined, Zariah Monroe's blueprint for healing. The photos showed her smiling in front of their new building. The boys wore tiny suits. Seelan held Ezrin's hand. Zariah didn't notice Malrik until 3 days later. Malrik saw the article first. He saw her smiling. He saw the boys. They looked like him, all three. But Malrik wasn't part of her life anymore. Not yet. At home, everything was happy. They had bedtime stories, dance parties in the living room, and the boys' drawings on the fridge. Zariah's laugh didn't sound like someone who was trying to heal anymore. It sounded like someone who was finally happy. By the time the triplets turned 4, Zariah had done something amazing. She didn't just fix her life, she made it even better. People in the design world started talking about her. Clients stopped asking, "Can you do this?" and started asking, "Can you please make time for us?" The woman who once fed 3 babies with a spoon and a prayer now wore stylish clothes, gave speeches, and designed huge, beautiful buildings. But she didn't forget who she was. Her house still smelled like waffles on Sundays. The boys still had messy faces and superhero stickers on their doors. Her phone still had reminders: Tavi's therapy, Ezrin's library day, and Zeke's karate class. Having power didn't change Zariah. It gave her space to breathe. One day at their bright, plant-filled office, she was looking at designs when Talon walked in, smiling. "Guess who got us the Greystone project?" he said. Zariah was surprised. That was a big deal. Everyone wanted to work on that building. "How did you get it?" she asked. "Someone read your article," Kalen said. "They were inspired by how you design places that heal." That week, her email filled up. Everyone wanted to work with her. But Zariah chose wisely. She didn't want to build castles for mean people. She wanted to help shelters, kids' homes, and women's groups. She picked projects that meant something to her heart. One day, during a design event for girls, a shy girl came up to her. "Miss Monroe," she said quietly, "I saw your interview. You said being a mom didn't end your dreams. It gave them direction." Zariah bent down and smiled. "It can do the same for you," she said. "You get to make your own plan." "I want to be like you," the girl said. "No," Zariah smiled. "You get to be you. That's the real magic." At home, life stayed sweet. Zeke was just like Zariah, smart, curious, and sometimes a little wild. He once fixed a drawer with tape and string, saying, "I'm doing architecture." Ezrin loved books and bugs. He had a box full of insects and wanted to show each one at bedtime. Tavi didn't talk much, but when he did, it was special. Once, while watering rooftop plants with Zariah, he said, "You're like the sun, Mama. Everything grows when you're around." Zariah had to turn away so he wouldn't see her cry. Kaylin was more than her business partner now. He was home. When the boys had bad dreams, they called for both of them. When Zariah had a rough day, Kaylin made tea. Their love wasn't a fairy tale. It was real. It was in the small things. Then, a big magazine called Vogue wanted to write about her. A client had suggested it. "People need to see your story," she said. Zariah was nervous. She didn't want too much attention, but she agreed, hoping it would inspire other moms. The photos were taken in their rooftop garden. Kaylin wore rolled-up sleeves. The boys planted flowers. Zariah stood barefoot in a pretty rust-colored dress. The cover read, "Rooted, How Zariah Monroe Grows Power from the Ashes." The article went everywhere. She got hundreds of messages. Moms, daughters, students, even retired architects told her she inspired them. That night, Zariah read the messages with happy tears in her eyes. Kaylin gave her a glass of wine and whispered, "You're building more than homes. You're building hope." But far away, something was happening. In a tall, quiet building, Malric saw the magazine. He almost dropped his cup. There she was, Zariah. She didn't look like the sad woman he left. She looked strong, calm, beautiful. And the boys, they had his face, his nose, his eyes, his smile. He realized something. He hadn't just left Zariah. He left a family behind. He told his helper, "Get me everything on Zariah Monroe." He read articles, watched videos. He saw pictures of Celan holding the boys, laughing with them. It made his heart hurt. He clenched his fists. He called someone. "I want to talk to a lawyer about being their dad." 4 years after she had stood crying on the corner of Mtavi and 10th, Zariah returned. But now, she was different. She wore a navy dress like armor. Her curls were like a crown. She stood tall. Zeke tugged on her sleeve. "Mama, can we feed the pigeons?" Ezrin carried the crackers. Tavi held her hand. "Just don't chase them this time," Zariah smiled. Zeke laughed. "No promises." Then they ran off, giggling. Suddenly, a black car stopped at the red light. Malric was inside. He saw her. He couldn't believe his eyes. He got out of the car before the light turned green. "Zariah," he said, voice shaking. She turned. Her face was calm, strong. Zeke stepped in front of her. "Who's that?" he asked. "I need to talk to your mom," Malric said. Ezrin hugged the cracker bag. Tavi looked up, confused. Zariah put her hands on the boy's shoulders and moved them behind her. "Malric," she said, like it was just a name. "Didn't think I'd see you." "I didn't know you had the babies," he said. "I saw the article, but I didn't know they were mine." He stared at the boys. "They look just like me." Zeke frowned. "Mama, who is he?" Zariah didn't look away. "Someone who used to know me. Not anymore." Malric looked at the kids again. His heart broke. "I want to talk," he said. "Please, I don't want to fight. I just want to understand. I want to know them." Zariah crossed her arms. "You had your chance 4 years ago," she said, "when I stood here, pregnant, asking you to stay." "I was scared," Malric said. "So was I," Zariah answered, "but I stayed. I chose the kids. You chose only yourself." Little Ezrin peeked out from behind Zariah's leg. "Mama, who is he really?" Zariah bent down and looked into Ezrin's eyes. "He's someone who teaches us what love is not like." Malric looked sad. "That's not fair." Zariah stood up. "Fair would have been you coming to even one doctor's visit, or holding my hand when I had the babies, or sending a birthday card, but you didn't do any of that." Malric looked down. "I know I was wrong. I see it now. Can we please talk? I don't want to take anything away. I just want a small chance to be part of their lives." Tavi tilted his head. "Mama, is that man sad?" Zariah's voice became soft, but only for her boys. "Sometimes people understand what they lost after it's too late." She looked at Malric again. "I've moved on. The boys already have a father. He doesn't share their blood, but he's been there for every scraped knee, every nightmare, every bedtime story. That's what a parent does." Malric's eyes filled with tears, but he blinked them away. Can I meet them properly? Just talk?" Zeke stepped in front, crossing his arms. "We're busy." Zariah almost smiled. Malric said in a quiet voice, "I can't stop seeing their faces. It feels like something is missing in me now." "That's because you never looked before," Zariah said, "and now it's too late." "I'm not trying to take anything," Malric whispered. "But you already did," she said. "You took time. You took moments I can never get back, but I gave the boys joy, and they gave it back to me." She bent down to hold her boys. They started walking away. Malric reached out, not sure. "Zariah?" She turned, her eyes hard. "You walked away once, so walk away again, and this time, stay gone." The wind blew as Zariah and her boys walked down the street. Cale looked back and asked, "Mama, is that man going to follow us?" "No," she said softly, "because we don't belong to him. We belong to ourselves." Tavi held her hand tighter. "I like our family better." Zariah kissed the top of his head. "So do I." Across the street, Malric just stood there, frozen, watching them walk away, his past wearing warm coats and tiny sneakers. He had never felt so empty. He got into his car and didn't look back. That night, Zariah sat on the couch with Salen, the man she loved now. The boys were sleeping upstairs. She told Salen everything, how she saw Malric, the questions he asked, and the strange ache she felt inside. Kalen listened and didn't say a word until she finished. Then he held her hand. "I'm proud of you," he said. "I didn't expect to feel anything," Zariah whispered. "But when I saw his face, I remembered all of it. The fear, the hurt, but also who I am now." "You're not just stronger," Selen said. "You're clearer." She nodded. "I didn't need closure, but I got it anyway." Malric Voss used to think that success could cover up anything, that having lots of money and looking perfect would hide what he was missing inside. But when he saw the boys, 3 little boys who looked just like him, something inside broke. He couldn't sleep after that day at the bus stop. He kept seeing Zeke standing tall, Ezrin hiding a little, and Tavi's kind eyes. But what hurt most was Zariah's voice saying, "He's a lesson in what love doesn't look like." The next morning, Malric sat in his big kitchen. His coffee went cold. He didn't even read the news. He just stared at Zariah's company website. He watched a video of her and Kalen walking on a building site, talking about how they made things better. The video showed the triplets too, watering plants with Selen, who they called Papi. Malric watched that part again and again. By noon, he was at his lawyer's office. "I want to see what I can do," he said. The lawyer shook his head. "Malric, you gave up your rights. You signed papers that said you didn't want to be connected to the babies. You even made it part of your divorce." Malric looked down. "I thought she would. Never mind." The lawyer said gently, "If you try now after 4 years and no contact, you'll most likely lose, and lose publicly." Malric didn't say anything else and left. But something had changed in him. He stopped eating much. He didn't say much in meetings. He kept looking up everything he could about Zariah, her interviews, speeches, photos. In one podcast, she said, "My children made me strong, but the pain made me focused." He saw Kalen in the background of family photos, never the main person, but always there. Then Malric saw a video of Zeke getting an award at school. Zariah stood beside him proudly. Selen was behind, tying Zeke's shoe. Malric paused the video. He whispered, "That should have been me." He started driving by the school. Not to be creepy, he just wanted to see them. On the 3rd day, he watched Zeke running, Ezrin holding Selen's hand, Tavi picking something from the ground. Then Zariah laughed and scooped him up. That laugh hurt more than silence ever could. He saw Kalen help Tavi when he fell. Kalen kissed his head, picked him up, and still helped the other 2 without trouble. Malric cried in his car for the first time in years. The next day, he wrote a letter. "Zariah, I was a coward. I told myself I left for work, for my name. But the truth is I left because I was scared to be a father. I didn't know that walking away would hurt more. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wish I could see them. At a school play, even just a wave. I know I don't deserve anything, but I want you to know I see it now, and it hurts." Malric. He sent the letter by special mail. Zariah didn't answer. Weeks went by, no reply. Malric tried to move on. He smiled at parties, dated new people, but always left early. No one laughed like Zariah. No one looked at him like she once did. He told himself he could start fresh, but regret doesn't go away. One Thursday, he stood by the playground, not too close. He watched the boys play. Kaylin was waiting with open arms. Zariah sipped coffee on a bench, smiling. She looked happy. She looked peaceful. And Malric only had memories. It was too late. That night was a big event at the Wilshire Foundation. Fancy lights and rich people were everywhere. Zariah didn't come to be seen. She came to stand proud. She walked in with Kaylin and her sons, who wore tiny tuxedos. Zeke fixed his bow tie. Ezrin peeked from behind his glasses. Tavi held his sketch pad. People whispered, "That's her, the smart architect. She's beautiful." Zariah's red dress sparkled. Her hair was tied up. She wore no necklace. She didn't need one. Her power came from inside. Kaylin fixed Zeke's collar and made him laugh. Ezrin held Zariah's arm. Tavi pointed at an ice sculpture. "Is that a dragon?" "Looks like it," Kaylin said with a wink. Zariah smiled. Malric stood far away by the wall. He said he came to network, but when he saw her, he forgot everything else. She looked like she belonged. The award show started. Speeches were made. Then came the final award. This year's winner is a mother, a builder, and someone who gives people hope. The screen showed pictures, homes, gardens, children. One picture was Zariah barefoot on a roof, hugging her boys. Zariah stood up. The whole room clapped loudly. Zeke clapped like he was at a superhero movie. Ezrin looked amazed. Tavi gave her a double thumbs up. Kaylin whispered, "Go show them what grace looks like." She walked to the stage. 4 years ago, she said, I stood at a bus stop, 8 months pregnant, cold and alone. I thought my life was over. People whispered, but that moment helped me build everything I have today. People listened closely. When you lose everything, you find out what you don't need. Some nodded. I built my first home as a mother. No plan, no money. Just a laptop, 3 babies, and hope. Some people laughed kindly. I learned that strength doesn't come from power. It comes from love, from never giving up. A pause. My kids didn't slow me down. They helped me hold on. More clapping. Malric looked down. He had never listened to her before. But now everyone listened, and they loved her. Zariah ended her speech. This isn't a comeback story. This is a survival story. Zariah stood on the big stage with bright lights shining on her. She held her award and looked at everyone in the room. When a woman picks herself and says, "No more," when she doesn't let bad things break her, she said in a strong voice, I don't just accept this award tonight. I accept every hard thing that brought me here, because I filled all the sad times with love, purpose, and dreams. She gave a small nod and walked back to her table. Everyone clapped so loudly that the shiny lights above shook. Zariah smiled as she sat down. Kaylin, her loving husband, stood up and kissed her forehead. Their boys rushed in and hugged her tight like she was their superhero. Malric, the man who left her a long time ago, stayed in the back, watching. People walked past him, saying nice things to Zariah and taking pictures, but he didn't try to talk to her. He now understood something very clearly. Zariah didn't need him anymore. She had become stronger and better without being angry. That truth hurt the most. Later that night, on a quiet balcony, Zariah stood outside, looking at the pretty city lights. The cool wind brushed her shoulders. She took a deep breath. Malric came out quietly. His hands were in his coat pockets. Zariah didn't turn around. You came, she said. I did, he answered. He stood quietly for a while, then said, Your speech, it was amazing. Zariah gave a small nod. It wasn't for you. I know. Another long silence. I'm not here to ask for anything, he said softly. I just wanted to say thank you. She turned around, surprised. Thank you? For what? For showing me who you became, for proving I was wrong, for showing me what real strength looks like. Zariah looked at him. This was the man who once left her behind. Now, He stood with his head down. No big words, no fake smile, just quiet truth. She took a deep breath. I didn't become strong because of you. I know, he said. That's why it hurts more. I hope one day you build something good without hurting anyone else first, she said gently. Then she walked past him and went back to her family. She didn't look back. A few days later, a letter arrived in the mail. There was no name on the front, but Zariah knew the handwriting. It was Malric's. She had seen it on birthday cards and old notes. She waited until the boys were asleep, then sat on the kitchen floor and read the letter. This is the last time I'll write. I wanted to go to court. I didn't. I've watched you and the boys from far away. I see how happy they are, how Seelan holds them, how you raise them with love. I know now I'm not needed. I thought being a dad meant giving money, but it means being there, even when it's hard. I wasn't. I failed you. I failed them. I won't fight. If they ask about me, please tell them. I loved them. I made the wrong choice. But I never stopped thinking about them. Tell them their names came from a scared father, but their strength came from a brave mother. That's the truth. That's all I have left. Zariah folded the letter slowly. She didn't cry. She just sat there quietly, feeling the weight of the words. Malric finally understood what he broke, but it was too late. She had already fixed it all without him. That night, Zariah told Seelan. They sat on the couch together. Kalen wore his glasses and read some papers. Zariah said, I got a letter from him. Seelan looked up. Is he trying again? No, she said. He's done. She gave him the letter. Kalen read it twice. He didn't look angry. He just looked calm. He finally sees it, he said. Zariah nodded. Yeah, but it took too long. Some people only learn when it's already over. She leaned against him. I don't hate him anymore. I did before, but not now. Seelan wrapped his arm around her. Now you have a life he can't touch. She smiled. He asked me to tell the boys he loved them. Will you? Seelan asked. Yes, she said without waiting. But not yet. They're too little to carry someone else's sad feelings. Seelan kissed her head. You always know what's best. Not always, Zariah laughed, but I know what brings peace. That weekend, the whole family went to the garden they helped build. Zeke ran around pretending to be a garden inspector. Ezrin used a magnifying glass to look at a worm. Tavi helped Kalen water the tomatoes very carefully. Zariah stood back and smiled. This was the life she had made, one good choice at a time. As they drove home, Zeke asked, Mama? Yes, sweetie? Do you think some people just don't know how to be in a family? Zariah blinked. Why do you ask? He said, a kid at school cried today. His dad left and never came back. His mom said some people just get scared. Zariah looked at Kalen, then at her kids in the mirror. She answered carefully, some people do get scared, but the ones who stay, even when it's hard, those are the ones who make a real family. Like Papa T? Tavi asked. Exactly, she smiled. Ezrin asked, so is Papa T our real dad? Kalen turned in his seat and said, I may not have given you your names, but I'm here for every day that follows. Zeke grinned. Good. You make better pancakes anyway. That night, after everyone slept, Zariah opened a drawer in her closet. Inside were baby shoes, her grandma's bracelet, a birthday photo, and now Malric's last letter. She placed the letter in the box, not because she missed him, but because that part of her life was finished. A few weeks later, a court clerk called. Malric had officially stopped trying. No court, no fight, no noise. Just done. One evening, Zariah went to a street corner alone. It was the same place where everything once fell apart. The sky was purple and soft. She wasn't there to be sad. She came to say thank you. Thank you to the girl she used to be, the one who didn't break, the one who walked away strong. She whispered, thank you, then turned and walked home. Later, she returned to that same spot, this time with her boys. The sky was golden and blue, a perfect morning. Zeke tugged her coat. Mama? It's just a bus stop. Ezrin was drawing the street lamp in his notebook. You said this place was important, he said. Tavi held her hand. Is this where you met Papa T? She chuckled. No, baby, this is where I met someone even more important. They all blinked at her. Zariah sat on the bench and invited them to join her. "This is where I met myself again," she said. They didn't understand everything, but they listened quietly. "One day you might feel really sad," she said. "Someone you love might leave. It might feel like the world doesn't care." "Did that happen to you here?" Zeke asked. "Yes," she said gently. "But something new started here too." "Like turning a page in a book?" Ezrin asked. "Yes," she smiled. "Was the new book about us?" Tavi asked. "It was because of you that the new book even happened," she whispered. They stayed a while, feeding birds and watching buses. Strangers walked past, not knowing this bench had once held a broken woman. Now it held her bright, strong family. When it was time to leave, Zeke said, "Let's come here every birthday." "I'd love that," Zariah smiled. "We should plant a tree here," Ezrin said. "Something that grows like we did." "You already are my forest," she whispered, holding back tears. Back home, Kalen was making breakfast. The smell of cinnamon filled the house. "Mission complete?" he asked. Zeke saluted. "Bus stop visited. Wisdom gained." Kalen laughed and gave Tavi a star-shaped pancake. Zariah leaned in the doorway, watching her family. They were like a happy song she never thought she'd have. That night, Zariah sat on the roof with Kalen. They drank tea under the moonlight. "You okay?" he asked. "I took them to the beginning today," she said. "That corner doesn't feel sad anymore. It's just part of my story." "Funny how the same place feels different when you change," Salen said. "You've never asked me to forget what happened," she said. "I never will," he said. "It's what made you strong." Before going to bed, Zariah walked into each boy's room. Zeke was spread out like a king. Ezrin's sketchbook was under his pillow. Tavi held a stuffed toy Keelan had won for him. She kissed each one. "You were not born from pain," she whispered. "You were born from promise." Outside, the wind blew gently through the trees near the house Zariah built with her own hands. A house with no sadness, only love, only hope. That night, Zariah smiled. She had survived, she had healed, she had grown. Not because she forgot the past, but because she faced it and kept walking. This story teaches us something important. Sometimes the best way to win is not to fight. It's to build a life so beautiful that the past doesn't fit in it anymore. Have you ever been really sad or heartbroken but then grew stronger?